Are we all muted?
You are not, Brenda. Everybody else knows, but you are not.
Okay.
And the echoes are back. I'm going to mute myself again.
Okay.
You might want to mute yourself in case they don't when service starts.
All right, I'll try it.
There you go. Yep, you are muted. I'm going to do that too now.
Recording in progress.
Good morning. Welcome to People's Church. We say welcome as all churches do. We strive to mean it, and so let me be explicit. You, the longtime members, relatively new, you, the first or second timers, perhaps looking for a church home. You, the one-time visitors. You, the confident, you, the unsure, you of any race, any age, any ethnicity, any gender, any body type, any sexual orientation, any religious background, belief, or lack thereof. You are welcome to walk with us as we all travel our spiritual journeys through life. You are welcome here. And now, this is one of the most rare of Sunday mornings when there are no announcements. Sort of wish there were, but today, not so much. So let's go right to our prelude with Joan Jacobs and the Flute Notes.
Good morning. That was a beautiful prelude. Thank you. My name is Andrea Hawkins-Kamper, and I am privileged to serve this congregation as its Director of Faith Formation. I'm also privileged to be your worship leader this morning. And this morning, as we light our chalice, symbolizing that moment where we open the sacred space of our sanctuary, be it the physical space or the virtual space that connects us here with those of us beyond. The words that we will use this morning come from a friend of mine, someone who's not just a colleague, but someone who is also a friend, the Reverend Jennifer Grayson. We come together every week, bound not by a creed or a mutual desire to please one God or many gods. Yet we are drawn together by a belief that how we are in the world, who we are together, matters. When we light this chalice, together in the knowledge that love, not fear, is what can change the world. And it is in that spirit that I invite you to join us all, whether you rise in body or in spirit, and sing our opening hymn, number 298, Wake Now My Senses. We will sing verses 1, 3, and 5. Yoink.
Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep call of being in all. Keep with the web of creation your vow. Giving, receiving, as love shows us how. Wake now, compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the wide sky. Take us to a neighbor, both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end. Wake now, my vision of ministry clear. Brighten my pathway with radiance here. Mingle my calling with all who will share. Work toward our planet transformed by our care.
A little grace goes a long way. I need more of it than most some days. If we could join together in saying our affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. I had originally picked out a different story to read for the Time for All Ages this week. Then I was at my other job on Thursday. Half a pallet of candy. Had something to say about my ability to walk for 2 days. And so I chose something else that came out of my reflections on that. And that book is I Am Enough. It is by Grace Byers. The pictures in this book are by Keturah A. Bobo. Like the sun, I'm here to shine. Like the voice, I'm here to sing. Like the bird, I'm here to fly and soar high over everything. Like the trees, I'm here to grow. Like the mountains, here to stand. Like time, I'm here to be and be everything I can. Like the champ, I'm here to fight. And like the heart, I'm here to love. Like a ladder, here to climb, and like the air, to rise above. Like the wind, I'm here to push. Like a rope, I'm here to pull. Like the rain, I'm here to pour and drip and fall until I'm full. Like the moon, I'm here to dream. Like the student, here to learn. Like the water, here to swell. Like the fire, here to burn. Like the winner, I'm here to win, and if I don't, I'll get up again. I know that I may sometimes cry, but even then, I'm here to try. I'm not meant to be like you, and you're not meant to be like me. Sometimes we'll get along, sometimes we will disagree. I know we don't look the same, our skin, our eyes, our hair, our frame. But that does not dictate our worth. We both have places here on earth. And in the end, we are right here to live a life of love, not fear. To help each other when it's tough, and to say together, I am enough.
Our first reading comes from Homebrewed Christianity by Tripp Fuller. We prepare children before they go into the children's church with the expectations as to what it means to enter that space. Are you ready to be with God? They take their shoes off and they look you in the eye, and if they say no, they can wiggle out in the hall until they're ready. And when they say yes, they're expected to take a seat and listen and participate. Oh, I would love to start church that way. We haven't really trained people on how to help people prepare to be in a worshipful state of mind. There is more attention to that in a yoga session than there is in worship, People will come and be present and do some breathing and prepare themselves to be in their bodies and fully present to what's happening in yoga, more than they would in a worship service. In my opinion, in the many thousands of worship services I have attended in my life, very few start with setting an intention.
Okay, hymn 288, All Our Architects. Please stand if able. Architects of fate, working in these walls of time, some with massive deeds and great, some with ornaments of rhyme. For the structure that we raise, time is with materials filled. All todays and yesterdays are the blocks with which we build. Build today, then strong and sure, with a firm and ample base, and ascending and secure, shall tomorrow find its place.
This is a reading from the Reverend A. Powell Davis. Let me tell you why I come to church. I come to church and would whether I was a preacher or not, because I fall below my own standards and need to be constantly brought back to them. I am afraid of becoming selfish and indulgent, and my church of the Free Spirit, brings me back to what I want to be. I could easily despair, doubt and dismay could overwhelm me. My church renews my courage and my hope. It is not enough that I should think about the world and its problems at the level of a newspaper report or magazine discussion. It could too soon become too low a level. I must have my conscience sharpened until it goads me to the most thorough and responsible thinking of which I am capable. I must feel again the love I owe to others. I must not only hear about it, but feel it. In church, I do. I am brought toward my best in every way toward my best.
I know it's always alarming when the DRE walks up with a cup of water onto the podium. What will happen? Let me start by acknowledging that on Friday there was an announcement that I saw on Facebook that Thich Nhat Hanh had passed into the next generation. His village had announced his passing. He had moved back to his village some time ago, knowing that he was ill. I know many people who follow his teachings, including my former mentor. And I have seen the effects of his mindfulness teachings on those that follow him. I am not a Buddhist, but as a person of faith, I recognize his legacy as monumental. May his memory be eternal. When I titled this service, I titled it, Why I Said Yes to the Doughnut and No to My Watch, which is an unusual title for a sermon. But here's why I did it. After my open heart surgery, my life was full of appointments and reminders and lifestyle changes, and it was full of everybody telling me everything I needed to do. My life was ran by a calendar and a watch, and this was a good thing. I learned discipline, sort of. Still working on it. ADHD is a thing. But when I went back to Chicago for my first in-person intensive since my open heart, it's the first time many of my classmates had seen me since then, it was interesting. I moved at a completely different speed than everybody else. I went from point A to point B. They went from point A to point B through point C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, Z. And then Thursday of that first week came around. Now, Thursdays at intensives were special days because Thursdays were the day that our chaplain, Reverend Terry, who was co-minister of First Unitarian in Chicago, would bring in donuts and coffee. Guess what I'm not supposed to have? Guess what I was going to have? However, I forgot about Thursdays. And so when I showed up at school, and I showed up in the Atherton Lounge on the 6th floor, it was 8 minutes till classes started. And I realized very quickly that it was Thursday, and that meant that it was Donuts with the Chaplain Day, which meant that it was time for a donut. So I walked over, and sure enough, there was a glazed yeast donut still in the box. And I had a cup of coffee, and I looked at my watch, and I went, okay. And I sat down at the table next to Terry. And as I sat down, all of my classmates were getting up, and they were beginning the seminarian dance. And they all looked at me sitting down, they're like, what are you doing? We have to go. It's 8 minutes till class. Class was one floor up, by the way. And I very calmly looked at them, I looked at my watch, and I looked at my donut, and I said, yes, class starts in 8 minutes. It'll take me 3 minutes to get upstairs and get a seat, leaving me 5 minutes to enjoy my very tasty donut and say hi to my friend who I haven't seen in a year. And they stopped. Probably a dozen of my colleagues stopped because they realized that the difference between 8 minutes and 5 minutes was 3 minutes. And maybe in those 3 minutes they could breathe. But more importantly, maybe in the 5 minutes relax. They didn't need to be so stressed out. Because one of the things seminary teaches you is that you cannot lead if you are not grounded. And if you do not have the spiritual disciplines to ground yourself, you cannot help others find their own centers. If you are adrift, you cannot find the dock. To use another metaphor, if you are bailing your own boat to save your life, you are incapable of pointing out the holes in another's. At least it's supposed to. And so what I did with those 5 minutes is I enjoyed my donut. I had a wonderful short conversation with Reverend Terry. We made an appointment to have lunch on Friday. And then I got upstairs. I sat down in my seat at 8:59. And at 9:21, our professor walked in the door. Yeah. But those 5 minutes that I spent with Reverend Terry did more to prepare me for the work of spending 22 minutes upstairs waiting for our professor to show up. Not of my own anxiety, but of shedding the anxiety of everybody else around me. Because I could just be there, calm, focused, centered in my own space, without being caught up in the fervor and furor of everyone around me. Five minutes of that work, connection, of intentional connection, intentional grounding, intentional checking in, was enough to help me find where I needed to be so that I could be present for the others around me. Did I do anything for them to help calm them down? Absolutely not. It was funny to watch. But could I have, had it gotten too much? Yes. But 5 minutes. 5 minutes. 6 weeks out of my open heart, you see, my emotions were still a jumbled mess. I was still dealing with the idea of not knowing where the tape of my memory stopped and where it began again, and what happened in the void. But 5 minutes kept me where I needed to be, which was in that classroom. 5 minutes prepared me to be with my classmates. 5 minutes before we walk in the doors of church prepares us to be with our friends, our neighbors, our families, everybody who makes up peoples. 5 minutes of preparation, when made with intention and integrity, can become transformative. Now, what I mean here is less behold my suddenly unfurling butterfly wings transformative, and more, wow, I can better react to life's challenges transformative. The stresses of a pandemic no longer affect me as dramatically transformative because we spend 5 minutes when we need to, carved out from a day jam-packed full of words I can't say here. 5 minutes means we become better prepared for what comes after those 5 minutes. Many years ago, in literally another lifetime, I became familiar with a form of ritual reflective prayer called the Examen, taught to me by some dear Jesuit friends of mine, as I was considering if my call was taking me there. Plot twist, it did not. But the Examen focuses on helping you to understand the places where you have and have not accepted the continual invitation to move with the holy in your life. And then, where you have not moved with the holy, to forgive yourself for that, to remind yourself that you are enough, and to help you understand why you made the choice that you did, and see if there is a way to do better. There may not be. But it is a practice that can be done in 5 minutes. But 5 minutes, practiced several times a day, focusing on how we move through the world, forgiving our shortcomings and making plans to do better. This is a practice of living with integrity, of living according to Unitarian Universalist values. Thich Nhat Hanh introduced this concept to Western audiences through his teachings on mindfulness, loving kindness, and meditation. Now, his teachings are very much rooted in traditional Buddhist teachings that make up one of our 6 sacred sources, but they are diluted for Western audiences. Still, his teachings have transformed lives for many folks seeking paths to holistic, integrity-driven lives that are grounded, centered, and rooted in non-theistic paths. I will tell you that the work of seeking present-minded, grounded connectedness is integral to healthy communities, and it is sacred work for both individuals and as congregations. Because that work extends further than what we do when we carve out 5 minutes sitting in a drive-through parking lot, and extends to when we greet somebody we do not know at the door of our doctor's office. When we practice lives of grounded, centered, present-minded living, we live authentically as a people present in the world. We bear witness to its suffering. And we are in a position to heal it, to heal the world as and where we can. If that is just our corner of Cedar Rapids, so be it. That is a drop. That is a change, and change has ripples. Unitarian Universalism is about being a bridge to the other just as much as it is about being a barrier to those who seek to do harm. It is a two-way door. With one hand, we extend the olive branch, and the other hand, we hold the buckler. Our compassion may lead us to the fire, but it is our integrity that keeps us safe from it. So let this be an invitation. Find 5 minutes of your day to say yes to the holy, however you understand it. Say yes to the holy for 5 minutes. Reach inward for those 5 minutes so that you may better understand how to reach outward. Because that, my friends, is what it's all about. Selah. Now, we've reached the point in our service where we engage in another act of service. And there are 3 ways that we engage in this act. Those ways are now up on your screen. You can send a check for our offering to the Sunday Plate Collection to People's Church via mail. You can give online from your laptop or desktop only via the www.peoplesuu.org website, or you can use the Vanco mobile app. Join me in the spirit of meditation or prayer as you are moved to do so. Most holy God, divine source, known by so many names and none. That which dwells in the void, that which is silence. For all the hurts and injuries carried upon us this morning, lighten the load. For those who have become blessed ancestors, hail their memory. We know that the path that we move through is each unique and individual. Understanding is sought. O most merciful source, let us find our way. Set out the guideposts. We'll take it the rest of the way. Selah. We will now do our candle ritual. Brian and I will light a candle, and then we will invite you to come up as you are willing or able to light a candle from us to place in the larger bowl. Now I would invite you to join us as we sing our closing hymn, number 118, This Little Light of Mine. Join me in saying the words of our chalice extinguishing. We extinguish this chalice flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. This is the work we are called to do, and this is the call we answer now. To be the barrier and the bridge, to be the living embodiment of our principles, to be about the work of building the beloved community, to be a people of intention and a people of conscience. Go in peace, my friends. Selah.